You are listening to the Turning Point Podcast, a place to come together to share unique stories that will encourage, uplift, and motivate one another. This is a space where we will absolutely be inspired to become the best versions of ourselves spiritually, mentally, and physically. So, if you are ready to take this venture with us, grab a cup of coffee, call a friend, and let's begin.
Welcome to the Turning Point Podcast. I'm your host, Shelly. Now, before we get started, I would like to say thank you to everyone that is tuning in for another episode. Thank you so much for returning. And I also would like to welcome you if this is your very first time. And I hope and pray that something is said today that will bring some sort of encouragement for you. So, before we get started, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Anchor.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to start a podcast. And the best part is that it's absolutely free. They have creation tools that will allow you to record and edit your podcast directly from your phone or computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. If you would like to learn more about Anchor, visit anchor.fm to get started today.
Do you remember the saying, "You have overstayed your welcome"? This can apply to so many different things and so many different situations. Sometimes we can hold on to things a lot longer than the purpose intended. All circumstances are for a reason, but some are actually for just a season. Sometimes we hold on to relationships, jobs, and things that actually have an expiration date. And if you keep something beyond the expiration date, it could potentially harm you and your future. By refusing to let go, you can delay what is truly intended for you. Holding on to something or someone too long can bring about many negative results. And here are a few examples. Let's start with relationships. If you choose to hold on to a relationship with someone who truly isn't meant for you, this can actually prevent you from being available for the one, and it delays the preparation process for that special person who is actually destined for you. This doesn't mean you won't meet them down the road, but if you hold on too long, this could cause potential setbacks in your future relationship because precious time is being spent breaking down the walls of hurt and mistrust, those things that you experienced in the previous relationship. And it delays all of the great things that we could be experiencing in life, as far as relationships are concerned. And then let's look at jobs. Some people hold on to a job for financial reasons, of course, and they take the abuse of others who operate in jealousy and they try to hold you back. They won't let you go but so far because you're offering your gifts to individuals who don't really appreciate you, but only use your talents as part of their personal agenda to climb the corporate ladder, when in fact, you weren't supposed to stay with that particular job beyond a certain date. You were supposed to move on to a better opportunity, whether it's starting your own business or using the knowledge and the gifts that you have to move on to another company that will actually appreciate you and recognize your worth. And the next one, this is a big one. Holding on to feelings, negative feelings for someone. Holding on to feelings of unforgiveness is a big one. And people hold on to resentment and harbor ill feelings, and this does nothing but cause negative effects for you mentally, emotionally, and ultimately physically because of the stress. It also keeps you bound and hinders you from walking in your blessing. Now, the big question is, how do we let go? Well, first, we need to get to the root of why we refuse to let go in the first place. It could mainly be fear of the unknown. Basically, you were thinking to yourself, if I let go, then what's next? What am I going to do? How am I going to make it? If I let go of my resentment, then how will the person who wronged me be held accountable? All of those questions could be flooding your mind, but the bottom line is we don't let go because of our lack of faith. Now, the next question is, how can we overcome unbelief or overcome our lack of faith? Well, we can do this by developing and strengthening our relationship with God and stop self-sabotaging ourselves by holding on to unhealthy relationships and circumstances that aren't meant for us. Well, there's a story in the Bible that speaks about overcoming disbelief. There was a man whose son was very sick, and the father explained his son's condition to Jesus and asked if he could help his son. Jesus assured the father by explaining to him, all things are possible for the one that believes. The father then replied to Jesus saying, I believe, but help me overcome my unbelief. As soon as Jesus heard this man's request, he immediately healed his son. You see, the father witnessed a miracle firsthand. And when the man basically confessed to Jesus that he had a little faith, but feared maybe it wasn't enough for his son to be healed. And when he confessed this, Jesus recognized his request and gave him instant results. Now, for us, I realize this can take time, and it might not be in that instant because I realize that it's a process, but we can actually do the same. If we're in a situation and we're afraid to walk away because of our disbelief, you can actually ask God to help increase our faith. After asking for help, we just need to trust God enough to let it all go. The Bible says, cast your cares upon me because I care for you, which basically means if we're going through a tough time, if we have some things that we're holding on to, Jesus is letting us know, give it to me. Give your worries and your concerns to me, and I'll take care of it for you. And here's the thing. Once we give it to him, we have to leave it there. We can't go back and pick it up because, again, that's unbelief. So we basically just have to trust God enough to let it go. Just leave it in his hands and walk away. Let's begin to free ourselves, to begin to walk into our destiny. Stop holding ourselves back by holding on to those things that are really not intended for us. That relationship or that job that is no longer intended, but greater is waiting for us, right? So let's let go of those bad feelings for that one that hurt us. Why? Because God is waiting to give a full and total healing. He's waiting to heal the brokenness from that hurt, from that pain. We no longer have to suffer because of fear. Because why? We just let it go. Just because you don't see it does not mean that it's not there waiting for your arrival. You have to take that huge leap of faith because walking away today could mean walking into your destiny tomorrow. So don't miss out on what God has for you. just because of fear. Let's just let it go. Walk away and walk into our destiny, which is greatness.
Thank you so much for listening to the Turning Point Podcast. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also, we would love to hear from you, so please head over to shellyrainey.net to participate in our episode discussions. Until next time.